How are you guys doing today? My name is Anima and welcome to episode 2 of Pokemon Team Spirit, where we try to build a team that is suggested by you guys, for you guys, power to the people. It's very, very exciting. So this theme is the Zelda team. What we try and do with these teams is we try and build a streak for as long as possible, proving the spirit of our team. When that team is defeated, we are back to the drawing board to create a brand spanking new team using a theme suggested by you gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous people. So yes, last week we did manage to score a win, a cheeky little win with our Zelda team. And yeah, it was pretty much the tits, ladies and gentlemen. Last week's team captain was in fact Zelda the Melodic. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know who you think is going to be the team captain of this week. Are we going to get some weird shenanigans with the Ganondorf turning out to be the Ganondorf the Infinite turning out to be the team captain of this team? Is that what's going to happen? I don't know. Let me know. Put your suggestions down below. Also, don't forget to suggest new themes. Using the hashtag. You can tell I'm not used to saying hashtag because I'm like hashtag Team Spirit, and vote up. Well, that's Reddit speak, isn't it? And thumbs up the themes that you like the look of, so I can notice them easier. So let's get on with this then, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Epona the Rapidash, Zelda the Melodic, Link the Mega Gallade, the Helmarock King the Honchkrow, Ganondorf the Infernape, and the Great Deku Tree, our Trevenant. So my opponent has a very threatening looking rain team. Basically slap a Politoed on a team and it's a rain team. Politoed, Ludicolo, you got your rain team done. They've got an excellent looking core over there with, honestly, it's just a really, really nice team. It's a really, really good rain team. We've got the Politoed, we've got a Mega Glalie, we've got the Ferrothorn, which is an excellent Pokemon under rain support. We've got the Ludicolo, we've got the Hitmontop, and the Noivern. So with the Noivern benefits from the rain with the hurricanes and so on, the Ludicolo, obviously with the Swift Swim, becomes a gigantic threat. It crushes my wall core of Melodic and Trevenant. This is an awful team matchup for me. This team does not perform amazingly in the rain, with the water and ice coverage are very, very lethal with the support of rain and the speed, because this team is fast, but if something is like way faster than it, like laughably faster than it, like the likes of Noivern and Swift Swim Ludicolo, we are in a spot of trouble. But we're just going to try and boss through it, you know, like we always do. Try and scrap our way to it and sort of prove the spirit of our team. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's hit play and see precisely what happened. I hope you're still with me, folks. Okay, so let's get started. We've got Icebreaker coming out on the field. I decided to lead with my choice Scarf for Epona. Kind of not really sure what my opponent was going to lead with. Predicting the Ferrothorn because I don't have a spin on my team, so I thought my opponent might prioritize getting up the hazards first. That's what I was thinking. But the Noivern is going to go for the U-turn, and this is a bit of a ball ache, ladies and gentlemen, as I bring in my specially defensive wall, Zelda, to try and take the hit. But Mistletoe is going to come out now, so this situation was honestly just bad. My opponent doing the ideal maneuver. I could have gone for the Wild Charge and tried to whack the Noivern, but to be honest, I didn't want to, you know, lose my Rapidash, because it's such a good Pokemon on this team and it's my Scarfer. So if I'd gone for the Wild Charge, taken Recall, and then taken a Draco Meteor, you know, what was going to happen there, really. So my opponent is just going to go for the Leech Seed, anticipating the switch, not going for the Rocks, which is mysterious in my opinion, as I bring in Ganondorf. Unfortunately, my Focus Sash is going to get burnt out by the Leech Seed, but I'm going to go for the Stealth Rocks as my opponent brings in their Hitmontop. So I despise this matchup. This is an awful matchup. So I'm going to actually hard switch out. I didn't go for the U-turn for some reason, despite me having it. I'm not sure why I didn't do it. I just forgot about it. Not very good on my behalf. I should have gone for it, really. But it doesn't really matter because I do switch out into my Gallade as my opponent brings in Mistletoe. I brought in Gallade so I could whack this thing up with a Psycho Cut and just smack it. And I had a kind of inkling that they wouldn't go for the Rapid Spin straight away because I do have a Trevenant on my team, so I thought they might do something hokey that wasn't quite Rapid Spin. Anyway, I'm going to bring in Gallade and we're going to go for the close combat and whack Mistletoe really, really hard in the face. My opponent chooses to stay in and go for the T-Wave to try and paralyze my Gallade and render it unable to outspeed every bloody thing on his team in his life. And Gallade's going to be sitting here chilling, and I thought, well, I mean, at least Gallade can take hits, so it's not the end of the world if he's paralyzed, I guess. We're going to go for the close combat and finish it off. I know that I'm still fast, then there's no need to go for a Shadow Sneak. Ferrothorn is slow as hell, so we are still going to outspeed it with our second close combat, and Mistletoe is going to die. Keep an eye on my opponent's names. This looks like a Christmas team, mostly in name, because Hitmontop isn't that Christmassy. I'm sorry, Hitmontop, but you know, it's a cool team. I really like it. It's really powerful. So out comes this thing. I don't want my Gallade to be taking unnecessary damage, and maybe my opponent might have the stab headbutt. I don't know if it's like a flinching set with the Ferrothorn spreading Thunderwave. I don't know that, so I'm just going to switch to Milotic, my best switch into this thing, as my opponent goes for the crunch. And this is a good play because it will hit my Milotic for neutral damage and it'll hit my Trevenant for super effective damage. It was much better than going for the ice type move. I was fearing the Earthquake from this thing, so I didn't want to switch in any of my fire types, even though Infernape would have been a great switch in just there. So out comes this thing once again. And Zelda's attack is going to fall, which is unfortunate, but we do get the Toxic off on the switch. And Snow Fight is going to be Toxic, which is great. It's fucking fantastic. So we're going to get a little bit of HP with our leftovers, as the Hitmontop is going to do the exact same. So we can't really... I felt that he was going to go for the Rapid Spin now because I didn't switch out into my Trevenant before, so you might be thinking that I might not go into it now. So I do decide to go into my Trevenant. The Deku Tree coming in strong as the Rapid Spin does in fact not go off. So we're in a pretty blessed position right now. Where I can kind of just do whatever I want here, really. So at this point, I did decide to go for the Phantom Force, as my opponent will withdraw and bring out Feliz Navidad, the Ludicolo, possibly expecting a Leech Seed. As I saw this, I was kicking myself because I thought if I'd like predicted the switch and gone for a Will-O-Wisp, that would have been really nice to have on this fucking Ludicolo, which is a huge, huge threat, as you're going to see. So out comes it, snow, and it's not going to snow, which is why there's the interruption. These nicknames are great. So we're going to get the rain, and that's a bit shit. But this thing is going to take some damage from our Phantom Force here, so it's pretty good. I went for Phantom Force because in case the Politoed would come in, we might be able to store out some rain. Whatever came in would take some damage. The Hitmontop wouldn't be able to, you know, the Hitmontop couldn't touch me, obviously, and the Pokemon coming in would take more damage, so it's cool. It's a delayed kind of situation here. So we go for our next Phantom Force as my opponent brings in Snow Fight. Once again, we're at the same situation, ladies and gentlemen. For some reason, Intimidate still works even when I'm in the shadows, but it doesn't work when you're hiding behind a plushie, so I'm not really sure why that's a thing. Either way, this Phantom Force is not going to do that much damage, and Snow Fight is going to be sitting quite pretty, and I'm Perish Songed up. So I do actually choose to switch out here, because I didn't want to be switching out when my Perish count fell to 1. I wanted to switch out prematurely, but my opponent predicts that very nicely and goes for the Rapid Spin, or they were just maintaining that I couldn't go for a Shadow Force, a Phantom Force, and so it would have been... Yeah, either way, my other move is Horn Leech, so I could have gone for that, I suppose, but I'd have to switch out on the next turn anyway, so I decided not to prolong the inevitable and just switch the hell out. Whatever, either way, this thing was going to be able to get a spin off, so it was a good move to go for the Perish Song, really. We're going to go for the Scald, just trying to take this thing out. My opponent doesn't really have any more use for it, it seems, so he's just going to go for the Close Combat, not wanting anybody to switch into damage. He wants to keep that Ludicolo as healthy as possible, because it is, in fact, Life Orbed. And... you know, it needs to die to its own Life Orb situation, really, rather than taking any extra damage. It needs to have as many hits as possible out of that horrible, horrible creature. Either way, we're going to go for the Recover, just trying to get this thing to sort of stall itself out as my opponent goes for the Toxic. This is awful. I should have gone on the offensive, but I got greedy with my Recover here. I wanted to just have as much health as possible to be able to soak up hits from the Noivern, because nobody on my team can actually beat the Noivern apart from my Honchkrow, and that's with some prior damage from Gallade's Shadow Sneak, so yeah! So it's not very good at all, really. Noivern is a really huge problem when my Milotic's dead. Either way, Snow Fight is going to get taken down by the Toxic damage, and that's pretty damn awesome if you ask me. And out comes Feliz Navidad, the most festive pineapple I have ever fucking seen. Shame it's going to dance on my grave. Fuck you. It's going to go for the Giga Drain, which I predict, so I switch in my Helmarock King to take the hit, which we take reasonably well, all things considered. And now, I actually expected the Ice Beam, so I am going to pull the switch out into Zelda, my Milotic, to take the predicted Ice Beam, as my opponent reveals a very strange move, the Teeter Dance. I don't know if this is normal on Ludicolo, but I hate it. It sucks. I despise confusion. I hate it so much. It's like... I hate confusion, man. I just despise it. I think it's the worst. Either way, though, Zelda is going to get confused, and I predicted my opponent to predict me going back into my Honchkrow, so I stayed in, risking the Giga Drain, and I actually went for a Toxic here. But unfortunately, I am going to go on the negative side of that 50%, and that Toxic right there was actually pretty important, as you're going to see later on. That Toxic, that inability for me to use the Toxic then, after staying in and risking my ass with that prediction, woo, it upset me a lot. So I figured now he's going to go for the Giga Drain. So I thought I'm just going to switch into my Infinite. So I do manage to predict that nicely and route into Ganondorf. So this is pretty cool. Feliz Navidad is going to withdraw, not wanting to take some damage. As I said earlier, this thing needs to have as many hits from, you know, with its life up as possible. Out comes Icebreaker, flapping its wings. Beautiful Pokemon. Shiny Noi. That wasn't a good Noi impression. Either way, we're going to get the U-turn, get a favourable matchup. It would have done super effective damage to the Ludicolo. We get Switch Initiative and we go into Zelda. So this thing is a problem, man. This thing is a problem. And now with my rocks not being there, it's a problem. I probably should have gone for Stealth Rock with my Infernape on the Switch. I really could have done that. Either way, this thing is going to go for the U-turn. And I went for the Ice Beam because I really wanted this thing dead, and I thought my opponent might try and risk going for like a Choice Specs Draco Meteor, whatever this thing is. I don't know what item it is, but I feel like it's choiced. Just from how it's behaving. I don't see an item, so it's got to be Wise Glasses or Choiced. So we're going to go for the Ice Beam. It's going to be completely crap against this thing. It's going to take it so well, and we're going to go for the Toxic on the follow-up. We need this thing to die. It's quite bulky. It's obviously like a pivot for the team, pivot and gets the rain up. It's just such, Politoed is just so fierce with the drizzle. Such a staple for rain teams, and Zelda is going to be whittled away bit by bit, and this is scaring me to death, but I can't let anybody just fucking take shit from this thing. So I went for the double Toxic, predicting my opponent to switch out, expecting me to recover. I'm trying to Toxic that Ludicolo, and I'm still kind of hurting from not being able to get the Toxic off due to the confusion hacks. But I think my opponent, I'm going to predict my opponent to expect me to recover. So our parish counts are going to fall down to 3, and Let It Snook is going to withdraw and go into Feliz Navidad. And I was actually super stubborn and went for the triple Toxic. So I did lose my Melodic, but ultimately like the Toxic after my recover would have just been so much. I would have just probably been at the roughly same amount of HP I was at anyway. So I was like, I'm not doing this. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not that guy. I can't do that. I'm not that guy. We're gonna go down, unfortunately, and I'm forced out into my Deku Tree. Now I went into my Deku Tree to bait the Ice Beam. I hadn't seen it yet, so for a minute I was like, does he not have the Ice Beam? But I thought, don't be fucking ridiculous. He must have the Ice Beam, and he does in fact. So I went in there to bait that and try and stall out the rain. I have to predict this thing perfectly. So far I've been doing a good job, I think, predicting what it's going to go for, because the rain is such a problem. So my opponent is fearing the Mark Punch, and so withdraws into Icebreaker. This was a perfect moment for me to get my rocks up once again, but I'm actually going to switch out, hard switching out, instead of going for the U-turn for some inane sodding. I didn't go for the U-turn because it's raining and I didn't want to die. I did not expect him to switch out, actually. And we have this tragic matchup of Deku versus a Noivern, and it's going to go for a 100% accurate Hurricane, which really sucks. It really sucks, I can't lie. So I'm going to go into Link, because as I said earlier, the only means I have of taking this thing down is with a combination of Shadow Sneak and Sucker Punch. So the Hurricane is going to take out Link easy peasy, absolutely no questions asked. I do believe this thing is specs. It's just hitting like, it's just fierce. So I thought he wouldn't want to risk going for the Hurricane without the rain being there, and he might predict me Sucker Punching. So I decided to go straight for the Brave Bird as Let It Snow comes back out. Thankfully, you know, it all works out as expected, and I am able to get off a solid hit on this thing, killing it, which is really, really nice. Now I just have to wait out the potential 6 to 8 turns of the rain that's left. So we're going to get our Moxie boost, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. We're pretty good, but I cannot be Ice Sharded by Snowball. I really can't, because Helmarock is my win condition. I need to preserve him in good health. So I'm going to go into Epona knowing that I can take any hit this thing throws at me, bar the EQ. And we're going to take an Ice Shard, and I really didn't. I went for the friggin' wild charge, expecting my opponent to switch into the Politoed. It sucks. But sadly, my opponent didn't switch, and yeah, Epona's not going to be able to... Plus the Ice Shard damage we're going to take. This Wild Charge and the Recoil is going to take my opponent out, and that really, really stinks. I can't tell you how awful that is. I was really kicking myself when that happened, because I wanted to lock myself into Wild Charge in case my opponent switched out into Icebreaker or the Politoed. Not the Politoed, or the Ludicolo. I thought that Wild Charge was my best option against all of these things, but they did stay in and shit. I was expecting him to preserve the Mega Glaylite because of the Ice Shard. So I'm in my Helmarock right now, and I have got to bomb this thing. This is his last Pokemon. Thankfully, we played around the Noivern very nicely. We're totally chill. I've got to switch out though. I really do. Yeah, this thing... I have to fodder Ganondorf because I can't risk the confusion not being in my favour. The Sucker Punch, I couldn't risk it, man. I couldn't risk it. But I kept trying to spam Sucker Punch just in case he didn't go for Teeter Dance, just in case he thought I'd be afraid of it. And I'm going to go for Sucker Punch again as my opponent goes for the Teeter Dance. I really could have Brave Birded, but there was some serious mind games. It was total 50-50 throughout this process. That, like, I'd have literally got to be psychic to try and predict this man. So here you can see where the Helmarock King fails me. That was a complete 50-50 chance there at the end. And I really did suffer from that, honestly. I really did. It was a total 50-50 there with the Helmarock King. If I'd managed to break through the confusion, that thing would have been dead. I would have killed the Ludicolo and I would have won. But, because I did go for the Brave Bird. But as you see, the confusion did get me, and the Ludicolo is going to dance around victorious. So that was a very, very close game. Definitely came right down to the wire. If I'd landed that Toxic earlier on, you see, the Ludicolo would have taken some more toxic damage, some when, and it might have been enough to kill it at the end. But either way, I bombed both confusion situations and lost as a result of that. But that's not to say my opponent didn't play well. It's a combination of playing well and good luck that definitely earned him this game. So folks, I really do hope you have enjoyed today's episode of Team Spirit. I hope you enjoyed it very, very much. Please don't forget to suggest your themes for teams that I will be sure to use, because this is the end of our streak, so I have to construct a new team right now. You know what that means? That means a new team building video and a new streak to begin. So folks, you've been sexy, I've been Anima. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon, my friends. Bye-bye.